Good evening. I appreciate the compliment on the intro. It's interesting that you commented on that tonight. For some reason, that intro hit me a little bit harder tonight than it does most nights. And I think that's largely because most nights I'm so busy thinking about the show. I'm thinking about what I'm going to say. I'm thinking about, how I'm going to kind of order things and whatnot. And so I don't let myself sink into it. And towards the end of the video, that's my children that are in the pictures. And I haven't seen them since 2014. So sometimes it hits a little bit harder than usual. And I think they're hitting a little bit harder tonight because, I want to talk to you about something I think it's serious tonight. And I think it's something that we all really need to kind of look at and, in all reality, kind of try to stay away from. And it's probably going to be a bit of a rough episode tonight, so I'm going to give that warning. When I say rough, I mean I'm going to say things that might piss some people off. In fact, I'm sure will piss some people off. That's fine. That's fine. I don't, here's one thing, and I need to say this out of the gate. One thing that I never want anybody that ever listens to my voice do is to idolize me, to put me up on a pedestal, to tribalize me. Never do that. Test every single word that comes out of my mouth. I want you to. And I mean that. I'm not just saying that to try to gain trust. I'm saying that because I mean that. And if there is something that I report on or something like that that's incorrect, I expect to be called out on it. And it's not, I'm here to do the news. I'm not here to please man. I'm not here to serve man. I'm here to serve the Father. And unfortunately, sometimes that means the opposite of serving man. In fact, more and more, I think oftentimes it means the opposite of serving man. And so I want to talk about a few things tonight involving that. I'm going to get into later on talking a little bit about Biden and talking about my concerns as it relates to civil war. As I've said a number of times, this whole thing is fluid. And one day, my biggest concern might be Russia and Ukraine. The next day, it could be Israel and Iran. Next day, it could be China and Taiwan. Today, it's civil war. And I'm going to get into that, and I'm going to get into why. But before we get to that, probably long before we get to that, I need to address something. And I normally have tabs up with different news stories to talk to you about before we go through reading the headlines. I have 0 tabs of news stories up tonight because we need to talk. And, hang on, we need to talk after I get out this other headline, so it'll be there when we get to the headlines. One moment. I try to make sure I keep up on those so that way at the end of the show when I read through the headlines, everything pops up there and I got everything covered. So anyway, I'm going to talk to you tonight about tribalism, about discernment, and yeah, it's going to wind up bringing in a few people. It is what it is. I don't have a choice. Now, I want to make this very, very clear. And by the way, I do have an apology to make tonight as well. to actually the angry prepper. And we'll get to that when we get to that. However, now I've got an apology. That doesn't mean he's got the green light for me. Understand that most times, if I've got something to say that involves another individual, it's not that I don't like them as a human being. Absolutely not. But if somebody's putting out BS, I'm going to call them out. Plain and simple. I'm going to call them out. And I had to kind of have a little bit of a chuckle today, because you also have to watch those that kind of speak out of both sides of their neck. Sometimes I question who they serve. And so I'm going to bring up one of them right now. And this, out of anybody I speak about tonight, this is probably going to piss people off the most. Bear did a live stream earlier today, and he had mentioned a verse during that live stream, a Bible verse, and it basically says you don't speak bad about your brother. I don't remember. I've always said when it comes to I don't know what you want to call it. I don't want to call it religion, but when it comes to talking about the Bible, you got two kinds of people that I've found. You've got the people that can sit there and recite it word for word, and more often than not, those are the individuals, and I've said this before, that it seems has a real hard problem following that word. And then you've got those that can't hardly recite a thing in the Bible, which that would be me, that fully grasp and understand what it's actually trying to say. Now, I have a good friend of mine, name is John. I think the world of him. I think of him as my brother, and I would give my life for him if it meant, protecting him or what have you. No questions asked. But he fits that category. He fits one of those people that can recite, and I mean, he can literally tell you every single name of who begat who and the whole 9 yards and not skip a beat. But he has no idea how to follow it. In fact, he was, and I'm not speaking bad on him. I love him like a brother. He's dealt with alcoholism all his life and battled it, wins and losses, and the only reason why I mention that is because one other thing that I've noticed is oftentimes when somebody is fighting an addiction, especially alcoholism, it would seem, and they turn to Scripture to do so. One thing that's common when people are fighting addictions is they usually will pick up another addiction. They may overcome the original addiction, like for instance alcoholism, but they'll usually pick up another addiction. And more often than not, I've noticed with alcoholism, that addiction is control. And so for those individuals that have overcome alcoholism and picked up the addiction of control and picked up the Scripture, I have oftentimes seen them use Scripture to try to control, to try to manipulate. And so I'm not saying that anybody that other than my brother John has done that. I'm not claiming anybody else. Again, I love him like a brother. I would say, and I have said this to his face. So this isn't any conversation he's not heard, we'll say way more than once. And I'll continue to have that conversation with him because I don't like to watch him stumble. Period. I don't. And I don't envy. I don't covet. I just don't. I don't know. I can't say I was never that way, but I haven't been that way for so long I can't even remember. It is what it is. When other people get something nice, I'm happy for them. I think it's awesome, right? You have people out there that want to come down on individuals that might be receiving help from the state or something like that, and you'll have people come down on them because they got a nice phone. Not me. I'm the last person to sit there and say, oh, well, that person, because they're poor, they shouldn't have anything nice. Excuse me? Everybody deserves to have something nice. Everybody deserves that pick-me-up. Absolutely. But back on topic, Baird said a part of Scripture that basically says you don't talk bad about your brothers. Well, I beg to differ. I don't know of a single time that the Father tells us not to blow our trumpet. Not one. And in fact, I kind of, the reason why I picked on Bear and called that out is because I distinctly remember another Patreon video he made to where he equated all the men that owe child support, back child support, as scumbags. He literally used that name, scumbags. That struck me kind of hard, considering that I know the amount of millions of men in this country that have gotten raked over the coals by courts, family courts, and they're absolutely not scumbags. I'm not saying every one of them are prize human beings, but to sit there and call them scumbags because they owe back child support, that's a little bit nuts. So we have to pick one or the other, man. One or the other. I would also go on to say, and I'm not going to turn this into a Bible study or anything like that, but I've got 22 verses here that say just the opposite. Who will rise up for me against the wicked? Who will stand for me against those who practice iniquity? Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. For there are many who are insubordinate, empty talkers and deceivers, especially those of the circumcision party. They must be silenced, since they are upsetting whole families by teaching for shameful gain what they ought not teach. One of the Cretans, a prophet of their own, said, Cretans are always liars, evil beasts, lazy gluttons. This testimony is true, therefore rebuke them sharply, and they may be sound in the faith. This is one that I like. It's or do you not know that the saints will judge the world? And if the world is to be judged by you, are you incompetent to try trivial cases? In other words, can't you call out these little things? Why can't you call out these little things? There's on and on and on and on. Okay, there's 22 verses here on why you blow your trumpet, why you call this stuff out. You know, you have to pick one or the other. You have to pick who you're going to serve, man, or are you going to serve the Father? I'm going to serve the Father, and unfortunately in today's world that pisses a lot of people off. So be it. The Father is way more important to me than man. So I only brought that up because, again, it was mentioned today, and yeah, I have to defend my speaking out. Absolutely. I have to defend my speaking out. So, first off, let me get the apology out of the way, because I've always told you that if I'm wrong about something, I will be the first to say it. And I have not said this yet, and it's way long overdue. Like I say, he's not off the hook, but not in my mind. But he does deserve an apology for this. So back when the mandate stuff was going down, especially in New York City, especially with the employees of the city, I had made the statement that Jason didn't have the courage to to stand up and to do whatever it took to stand up and not get the jab. I was wrong. And for that, I apologize to the Angry Prepper. Absolutely. I was wrong. Now, I don't know if he ever heard me say that. And if he did, if it helped him, if it helped him, give him that little bit of push just to prove me wrong, good. Because I didn't say it because I don't like him. I said it because I want to see him succeed. My dad wasn't a nice man to me. My dad was a complete ass to me. Was it because he wanted to see me fail? No. No. My dad wanted to see me have what it takes to make it. And I didn't understand that for a long time. I hated my dad because of it. Absolutely hated the man. I was well into adulthood. I was in my 30s before it finally clicked in my head. So I get this learning curve, and I get how big some learning curves are. Sometimes they're huge. But if he did hear that, and if it did help push him, then I'm going to say this again too. And not because I don't like him. But one of them, either him or his wife, needs to get the balls to say, we're moving. We're getting the hell out of this city. And I know he's been talking about it and stuff. I want to see him do it. I want to see him do it. I know, man. And I'm speaking man to Jason. I haven't seen my kids since 2014. If anybody understands about the issues with not seeing kids, yeah, I know a thing or two about it. I get that it would be rough. I know he mentioned in one of his videos about, he's got his kids that he sees. He gets to see his kids, and that's awesome. You got to do whatever it is you got to do, brother. Even if it's just getting across that state line just a little bit, and please don't choose New Jersey. Even if it's getting across that state line just a little bit, so you may have to travel 2-3 hours to see your kids. Man, I don't know. Even if you can just get out of the damn city, dude. Get out of the city. There isn't enough money, let alone New York City. There ain't enough money that they could pay me on a job to live in St. Louis. We live 30 miles out of St. Louis. I'm not too concerned about riffraff coming from St. Louis after the balloon goes up. I'm not. That's 30 miles that they have to travel. And Lord knows what they're going to run into on that travel. For what? There's nothing really here that most people are going to be aware of that they would be coming this way. So, I mean, it's just not that much of an interest. So even if you get a little bit away from the city, man, probably have to be more than 30 miles considering the difference between New York City and St. Louis. But do it, man, because I really do think time's running short. And man, you don't want to put yourself in a losing situation, and I think living in New York City, especially of all places, you're setting yourself up for a battle that Goliath would have a hard time winning. And again, I don't say that because I don't like them. The only thing I don't like the add to cart prepping channels, right? If you're gonna put something out there for people to buy, then you should probably know a little bit about what it is that you're peddling. I mean, I would highly suggest that. You can't put profits as your number one motive. It's just not very becoming. And it's certainly not righteous, not even remotely. So I wanted to say that. The other thing I wanted to speak on is I had been involved in a conversation, and I'm going to be real honest, I don't even know the name of the channel. There was a channel that popped up in my feed, suggested video kind of stuff, and I saw the name of a nemesis in there, and this person I do not like. I like Bear, I do. I won't send him a penny to his. I won't donate a penny to his cause, and because I've got a lot of questions there because of what I see. But I like him, I do, and I think he's done a lot of tremendous good for the prepping community. His prepper classroom is top notch, and I think it does a lot of good. I think he does a lot of good. But, I've got questions, and also, when you speak both sides, yeah, I don't know. I like him, though. I do. I like the guy. And I like the Angry Prepper. I've been a sub to the Angry Prepper for, gosh, I think shortly after, I don't know if it was shortly after he was on Doomsday Preppers, or wasn't real long. I've been a sub to him for a really long time. In fact, my other account, my original account with YouTube, I was a sub to Angry Prepper on that channel, and that was long before the Watchman News. So that was 2014 when we started here. So I can't say long before the Watchman News, but probably at least a year or two, I would think. But this channel popped up, and I must admit I was tempted to watch, and I did watch. And it mentioned Prepper Nurse 1. And apparently, I thought he was already moved. I don't know. I don't watch his stuff. I mean, when I tell you I'm done with somebody or something, I'm done. I'm not like a lot in society that say, I'm done with that, and then go on and on and on and on and on. No. When I'm done, I'm done. And I haven't watched a video of his. In fact, I quit watching his content when I was still doing work for his website. I had quit watching his content. And I let him know I did. Because it just became more and more bizarre. And anyway, I had made a comment. I couldn't resist. I had made a comment on that video and kind of warned people, kind of watch out for that guy. And it was funny because a lot of the people that had watched the channel that I had commented on watch him. And so the tribalism was strong. People coming out, chewing me up and down, this, that, and the other. And it's just like, most of them start out with something to the effect of, I like Ed. Well, that is where you need to stop. Because it's not about whether or not you like their personality. It's not about whether or not they make you feel warm and fuzzy. What kind of a human being are they? What are their fruits? And I only warn people because, man, if you're involved in a business, my opinion, this is my opinion, and I think it backed up by fact, customer service is like the most important. And when you got people that and I've got, by the way, I wouldn't say this if I didn't have proof. I've got plenty of emails. I've got plenty of conversations back and forth between me and him. I've got all that. I don't delete anything. I've said that a million times. I don't delete anything. And I've got our conversations to where I'd call him out on it. When he had customers trying to contact him and he wouldn't reply, but yet he had plenty of time to go out and run around and buy stuff for himself. Yeah, I take issue with that. And that is the largest reason why I parted ways. Because you don't do that to people. And I didn't want to get in trouble because I was taking care of the website for him. I didn't want to get drug into some lawsuit because people weren't getting orders. And I'm not saying nobody didn't get their orders, or I don't know. I have no idea. I had no control over any part of that. I had no control over his finances, no control over the placing of orders or shipping of the orders or anything else. I had no control of that over that, nor did I want it. All I did was keep the website running. That's it. But I didn't want to be liable. I didn't want to be responsible. So I stepped away. Now, one of the things in all of these verses I've got here in front of me, one of the things says, hang on, it's in here. Let me find it real quick, because it's important. Oh well, it's not that important, but still, it talks about not speaking of their private things, okay? And I can't say I have never spoke to something in particular involving him, but I'm not doing that now. I'm not going to do that now. And it is an issue that I seriously take, or something I seriously take issue with him, but it's a private matter. It doesn't involve other people. And that's why it's not entered into here. So I want to make sure that folks know I'm trying to serve the Father here. And my biggest concern with all of this, and it's not trying to rake people under the coals or anything like that, it has nothing to do with that. It's about the tribalism. It's about the idolatry. Folks, that's why I said, the very beginning of the show, never idolize me. Don't ever put me up on a pedestal. Don't tribalize me. When I became ordained, you choose like your title. And the choice I made was brother. And the reason why I chose brother was because I didn't want to be put on a pedestal. I didn't want to be anything more than a brother. I want to be an equal. All right? Don't put me on that pedestal. I'm sure I'll let you down. I am far from perfect, but I work really hard at following the Word. I really do. And I know I fail. I fail every day. But not in ways that most of society falls for. And that's kind of what makes me an oddball. And that's fine. That's why I'm kind of like reclusive. I keep to myself, and because I don't have very much in common with society. I just don't. Not even remotely. Oops. Pretty much of an outcast, actually. And that, whatever. I'm fine. The good book says, come out of her, my people. Well, it might be nice and fun to say, and it might be easy to say, but to do it is a whole different story. And I'm telling you, when you do it, you're going to have a lot of pushback. A lot of pushback. I don't mean a little. I mean a lot. Like I was saying, when it comes to the tribalism and stuff, be mindful of that. You have to be not only discerning, But you have to be self-disciplined so that you understand, you realize when it is that you are following somebody because they make you feel good, when you're following somebody because you like what they have to say, what they say makes you feel special or validated, because that's not what's important. Is what they are saying true? Is what they are saying righteous? And if you can't say yes to those, you might want to take another look. You might want to take another look. And that's why it is that I have a hard time following people. I really do. And yeah, it sucks. It kind of does. There are so many channels that I have followed and loved and had strayed way off course, and they still do good stuff. And I'm not saying they're horrible people. But some of their actions, some of their fruits are so unrighteous that I can't. I can't. Watch that. Watch that for yourself. This isn't anything for me. I don't gain from anything with what I'm saying or doing tonight. In fact, I'll probably lose. And that's fine. That is absolutely fine. You know, one of the things that was brought up in that conversation over on that other channel, and it's not the first time. In fact, he said it to me directly, and I'm talking about Prepper Nurse 1. Oh, I'm jealous. That's his go-to. They're just jealous. No, not everybody is, man. And I'm certainly not. Because what impresses me more than anything about another person when it comes to earthly things is their intelligence, their intellect. That is what I'm after. Who can I learn from? Right? And it's, sorry, not there. It's just not. So if you want to make me jealous, have the knowledge and capability to do something really important that I don't. And I'm still not going to get jealous. I'm just going to wish I knew it. Not going to be jealousy. I don't get jealous. I don't covet. I don't. I don't. Whatever. You know? I don't have to have the nicest stuff. You know, I don't have to have the top of the line computer equipment. I would like a little better video cards for Flight Simulator, but hey, that's things of the earth. I don't covet people that do have the nice, really expensive computers, you know, that they're doing, you know, virtual reality VR flights with, you know, ultra graphics and all that good stuff. I don't covet them. I just look at it like this. If the Father wants to bless me in the future, and provide a way that I would have the expendable money to purchase something like that, great. But I kind of doubt it, and that's an awful lot of money. If you've seen how much video cards are for the top of the line ones, they're not cheap, over $1,000. I don't think God's whispering in my ear saying that I need a 38 or a 3080 or a 3090 video card. I'm pretty sure that he's not telling me I need a new jet plane or anything else. In fact, the only thing that he ever tells me I need is to get prepared, to get ready. I don't have to have all kinds of goodies. You know, I sat here and a lot of people might think, well, dude, you're sitting there with 3 computer monitors right in front of you. Yeah, I do the news. You know how hard it is to do the news with one screen? It's one thing doing this show, and I've actually gotten myself worked into a routine with this show, which I never had a good routine before. Now I do, and I could probably get away with easily with 2 monitors. I could do it with 1, but it'd be rough. I could probably get away with 2. But one thing I haven't done in a really long time on this show is I haven't covered live stuff. I haven't covered, like protest or something like that going on to where I overlay multiple screens on one output to you. I haven't done that in a while. But when I do that, to be honest, I could use a 4th monitor even, because it's really kind of hard to keep up. And when you've got, let's say I'm trying to put out 4 different feeds to you on one screen, okay, you have to understand that's 4 different windows that I have to keep an eye on. Now here's where it gets real tricky. Not only is that 4 windows that I have to kind of try to keep visible for myself so I know what's going on to make sure that you've got, content going to you and I don't have blank or stopped feeds or whatever. But that also means that I have to have backup feeds to be able to replace feeds that do go down. Now this is something, folks, I've done ever since Occupy Wall Street. I started doing this back when Tim Pool and Luke Rudowski was, and others, many others, were live streaming from Occupy Wall Street. That's when I very first done that, way back when. And I just haven't done it in a while because there really hasn't been, a whole lot of stuff going on like that. And when there is, there's typically not a lot of feeds that are out there, especially not good feeds. And it just hasn't arose. But if you ever wonder why I've got 3 computer monitors in front of me, that's why. So that I can bring you news. And especially when it comes to like live broadcasts and stuff like that. But for our regular everyday show here, it is nice to have this is my broadcast software. It's just Streamlabs, which is OBS. It's a fancy version of OBS. That's my broadcast software up here. Over here on this screen, I keep my personal tabs. That would be my Facebook, my email, my yada yada, right? And then over here on this screen, this is the intro video here. Back in the day when I used to play videos, other video content on our show, that would be over on this screen. And then the other screen is here that I read stuff off of to you. And when I am reading to you, I kind of, I don't know, you can probably see it. I kind of put it not quite half and half, but 2/3 and 1/3, because that's the best angle for me to view it and tell you and speak to you, read it to you. That's why. I don't have this set up because I want to impress people or because I want to have all the things. Not at all. In fact, don't let that even remotely impress you. I've got a GTX 1650 Super video card. It's a 4 gigabyte video card. Not really impressive by today's standards. And it's got 3 outputs. It's really not. It may look like a lot, but it's not. It's 3 monitors hooked up to one computer, hooked up to one video card. It's really not anything that special. So, anyway, like I say, I don't covet things. I don't. I like nice things, especially if I see a nice car. I like nice cars. I'm an old car guy. I love nice cars. Do I covet them? Nah. You might get me to start to covet like a 63 Vet Stingray. Yeah, I might feel a little tiny bit of covetousness, whatever, I can't say it, tugging on me a little bit. But it's not going to be a level of envy or anything like that. But I am going to want to look at it. Especially under the hood. But I don't covet. And the reason why Because it is what it is. Man, I've had nice things in my life, and I've had nothing in my life. I don't know. A lot changed in 2014 when I lost my family. I lost all my possessions. A lot changed in me. And I'm not easily impressed anymore. If you want to impress me, do it by your knowledge. That's what impresses me more than anything, aside from faith. And I do. I would love to be able to hang out on a regular basis with somebody who's very strong in their faith and that I could learn from. Not somebody that uses the word, uses scripture for a form of control, but somebody that I could actually learn from. That's what I would like. If I could have a wish, that would be what the wish would be. Somebody that can intellectually stimulate me on the word. I just want everybody to be really mindful and really careful about that tribalism. Because there are a lot of folks that are leading people down the wrong path. And they might not even know they're doing it. It's not about buying the things. It's not. It's important to be prepared. Very important to be prepared. But what's more important is knowledge. And I keep saying that over and over and over. Has nothing to do with being able to click that add to cart button. What can you do without all that fancy stuff? That's what's important. That is what's going to help you survive. Not all the fancy gadgets, not all the fancy toys, not even all the food stacked to the rafters. It'll help, but it's not going to sustain you forever. You have to have the knowledge to be able to provide for yourself. And that goes far beyond what you can store. And that's not what I see a lot of channels talking about. There are some, and that's why I do like Bear. That's why I do like Bear. Because out of all the channels I see, he is probably the one that gets that the most. And, at the same time, you don't see him constantly pimping stuff. He does here and there. He pimps his own product. Hey, I've got not a bad word to say about his business, Refuge Medical. Absolutely not. My hat's off to him. He made an incredible product, and I wished I had one. I want to get an SOB. Small on the back is what it stands for. I want an SOB so bad. No, I don't covet it, but I do want one. And if the Father provides at some point, I'd like to get one. But see, that's his. That's his. He's producing that. He's not just pimping that for a profit. He's producing it. And in my mind, that's a world of difference than just going and selling a bunch of other people's stuff. But that's just my thoughts, I mean, I'm really sure that a lot of people are going to differ on my thoughts with all of this. I look at life differently. I look at society differently. But what my goal is try to live as closely to what the Father intended as possible. And that means that I have to remove myself away from serving man as much as I possibly can to serve him. I can serve man through him. But I shouldn't be serving man directly. I shouldn't be sitting here giving props to people that are not righteous. I just shouldn't. We're not supposed to. We're not supposed to hold up the unrighteous in front of you. I'd love to see where it says that in Scripture. Absolutely not. So anyway, just be careful of the tribalism. Be careful of everything I've said. Be careful of coveting, envying. Be careful of that. Because there's a lot of these channels that, in my opinion, are promoting the wrong thing. They're promoting buying over learning. And that is a mistake that you're not going to be able to have the chance to make twice. And that's what concerns me the most. It's going to be about what you know. It's all going to come down to that. So anyway, let's shift gears here because it's 10 minutes to 9. So Biden spoke today. And as I said, I am probably more concerned about the prospect of civil war now than I have ever. And maybe that might confuse some people. Some people might wonder why. Well, there were some tough questions that were thrown his way today. And he didn't do a very good job on them. One of the times he was questioned about his mental fitness. Okay, and he kind of blew the question off. I can't remember verbatim what it was he said to the question, but he certainly didn't actually address it. There were a number of other things that were said that were just completely concerning. And there were a number of things, like, for instance, in his answers about Russia and Ukraine. I mean, it's almost like he invited Russia into Ukraine. I mean, that's the only thing I can get from it. So I'm looking at all of this stuff. And I told Jen, I said, there's no way he's going to make it another 3 years. No way. And when you start to unpack that, you come to the understanding that, okay, let's say they invoke the 25th Amendment and remove him from office. Well, then what? We get Kamala. That's what. And if you think Biden was a 10 puppet, Kamala's going to be a magnitude worse, because not only is she going to be a 10 puppet, but she's still got enough cognitive skills to throw a few wrenches our way from her. And I believe she absolutely would. I don't believe there's any morality in that woman. I don't think there's any morality in Biden. But I do think that she would be worse. Now here's where civil war plays into that. Right now, you've already got a divided enough country. Regardless of whether you want to talk about politics, whether you want to talk about vaccines, whether you want to talk about the mandates themselves, whether you want to talk about how many genders there are, whether or not trans people should be allowed to play in sports. I mean, I could sit there and talk about division after division after division. But if it comes to the point to where they invoke the 25th Amendment and they take him out of office and she's put in office, first of all, you have to understand there's a lot of implications there. Because, please correct me if I'm wrong, but technically I don't think she's even eligible to hold the office. So that's going to bring into question a whole lot. I think regardless, let's throw that out of the picture. Let's say she is absolutely 100% eligible. Okay, fine. You're still going to have plenty of people on the right that's going to be saying, oh, hell no. And then you're going to have plenty of people on the left that's going to be too bad, deal with it. And I don't think that that's not going to spill over into something ugly. Folks, I've heard a number of different individuals say, well, we're already in civil war. And I somewhat agree. You may not know this. You may know it, you may not. Tim Pool was swatted a second time. He was swatted like a couple of weeks or so ago. He had a show that he had Marjorie Taylor Greene on. The following night, he got swatted. They actually got video of it. They put out video of it. It was kind of tame. From my understanding, there's not video that's been put out about what happened, was it last night or the night before? The night that Andy Ngo, or was it the following night? I think it was the following night after Andy Ngo was on his show. He had James O'Keefe, Libby Emmons, and Andy Ngo on his show. The following night, he got swatted a second time. From my understanding, that was a much more tense encounter than what the first one was. And Tim won't even talk about it, which speaks volumes to me. It really speaks volumes to me. Of course, we have the events of January 6th. I'm not taking a side on that or anything. It is an event. We can't dismiss that. We've got the rioting and all the craziness that went on for like a year, straight with Portland and many other cities across the U.S. So you do have to ask yourself, is there already a level of civil war? You got all of the discontent with one another on social media. So I think that on some levels, we have been at civil war. It just hasn't gone hot on a major level. And I say on a major level. Because there are absolutely events that have already happened. I would consider driving an SUV through a Christmas parade a pretty serious event. That happened. There have been countless other types of attacks that happen on much smaller scales. I think it's only going to get worse. And as things continue to fall apart in this country, whether it be supply chain problems, whether it be just the political nonsense that's going on, regardless of what it is, with the continuing deterioration of this country, you are going to deepen and widen that gap in between people. And it's going to become quite hostile. That's what we're looking at. I can't tell you how quick it's going to reach that point. I have no idea. I've no crystal ball here. But I firmly believe it's going to happen. And even the scripture says it's going to happen. There's nothing anywhere in the scripture that says that there's anything we're going to do or be able to do to prevent what's prophesied in the good book. All we can do is get prepared for it so that we can respond to it. That's all we can do. There's a lot of people that put a lot of focus on stopping it. We need to put a focus on being prepared for it. I trust that book. I put a lot of trust in that book. I'm not going to sit there and say I trust that book. I believe what the Father says, and turn around and sit there and go on and on and on about how we can fix it. That in itself is going against his word. That's doubting him. Now, I'm not saying we should just lay idly by and let things happen and not try to do anything to slow it down or prevent. I'm not saying that. But we have to be careful and mindful of the amount of time that we invest into that. We can't invest all of our time into trying to figure out ways to solve a problem that's not going to be solved and not preparing to be able to deal with it when it does fall. That's why all of this stuff is so important to me. That's why you having the actual knowledge is so important to me. Because there's going to become a day that these computer screens are worthless. That I won't be able to speak to you. That you won't be able to pull up a YouTube channel to be able to see how to do something. And at that point in time, you either better know how to do it. I'd prefer you have a little experience and practice doing it. Or at the very least, have printed books with information in them. Or else you're going to be in a bad way. That's my concern. That's why I approach it the way that I do here. And how I will continue to approach it over on Dirt Cheap Preps. I did put up a new video up there today, by the way. That's why I'm doing it. So anyway, I've rattled on for an hour. I'm sure I've done pissed off plenty of people. It is what it is. I ask that if you're going to disagree with the things I've said, bring facts to the table. Bring facts to the table. Show me. Not because somebody's butt hurt. Not because somebody whom they look up to was spoke about. Tell me where I'm wrong. Show me where I'm wrong. I have no problem apologizing when I'm wrong. Not whatsoever. Anyway, let me jump to some headlines here. And we'll call it an evening. Let me have a sip of coffee and a couple of vapes. You know the drill. That's my payment. Oh, goodness. I still need to get, which it's way down on the list. I've got a lot more important stuff I need to get first, but like first of all, power bill's got to get paid. But I've got to get more marshmallow and whipped cream for the cherry gum or cherry blow pop. I call it cherry gum sucker, and the reason why I titled it cherry gum sucker because at one time I used to sell it. It was one of the flavors that I sold when I sold e-juice, and I couldn't call it cherry blow pop. I couldn't call it blow pop or anything even remotely close to that because I'd get in trouble. So the name I gave it was cherry gum sucker. So Dirt Cheap Preps. Dirt Cheap Preps. Hang on. I'll get you linkage, man. I've got to hunt down my own link for my own channel. Let's see. Copy link address. Here you go, Steve. I'll make it real easy for you, brother. There you go. Blue. Hang on. I gotta yell at a dog. Alright. Oh, and I got huffed. I'm the bad guy. She's over there chewing and slurping. I call her out and I get huffed. I'm the bad guy. Sheesh. Tough house I live in here. Anyway. Let's do some headlines. Multiple flights to U.S. suspended over 5G fears. And Verizon has actually stepped up now and says they're going to curb flights, certain flights to certain places and yada, yada, yada. I don't know. Apparently this has to do with some of the instruments on the aircraft. I haven't really dug deep into it. But I did watch Bear earlier, and he was saying, and other people were talking about the radar altitude, and somebody had said, the only time, in his chat, somebody had said, the only time that matters is if they're doing ILS landing, and they can't see, or they have visual, less than 0.5 nautical miles visibility. That's the only time that matters. That would be incorrect. The other thing, another comment that he had was, they can just use their mechanical gauges. No. Those mechanical gauges are backup. If you've got 3 different ways to tell you one single thing in an aircraft and you're piloting that aircraft, you're going to want all 3 things to be able to give that indicator to you. That mechanical gauge, that analog, whatever you want to call it, that... I call them steam gauges, I don't know. But whatever you want to call them, you only use those as a backup. Okay, you use the fancy equipment. Use the best, most accurate equipment that you have, if at all possible. And when it comes to landing an aircraft, that radar altitude is going to be your most accurate. That's going to be more accurate than your GPS. That's going to be... The reason why that's more accurate than your steam gauge or your mechanical gauge or whatever it is you want to call it is because you have to make an adjustment on that. For your altimeter, for instance, you have to adjust it to the barometric pressure. So there's absolutely room for error with that gauge. Absolutely. There's not a lot of room for error with the radar altitude. It's pretty well dead on. GPS, GPS is pretty accurate, but, again, your radar altitude is going to be your go-to when you have it. So interfering with that is not a good idea. Absolutely not. Now, will it affect it, this 5G? I don't know. I've never tested it. I have no idea. However, if 5G is a threat to aviation, then it needs to be considered very heavily. So if it's not, if it's just a bunch of money being tossed around to try to block this or that, well then, whatever, people need to get over it. But don't worry, it's not a death ray. It's not going to activate the graphene, blah, blah, blah. It's not going to get the reptilian overlords to, come up out of the ground. No, it's not that. First of all, you probably need to understand what 5G actually is. It stands for 5th generation. It's just a more compressed data packet delivery system, if you will. And I probably got some of that a little off because I'm not a network guy, but it just basically you're compressing more data into smaller packets. And so therefore you can have higher speeds, faster speeds over that connection. That's it. Now again, I'm not saying that whether or not that can or cannot affect the equipment in an aircraft or anything. I have no idea. If it will or not. But my biggest fear about 5G is that basically they're going to implement a whole lot of IoT with it, the Internet of Things. And if we've ever needed to be concerned about a Skynet, so to speak, it's 5G that we need to be concerned with when it comes to that, because the amount of data that can be transferred through it, and because of the type of network system that they're going to have. You know, there's going to be a bunch of light poles and everything else that's going to have these 5G repeaters on them. I mean, they could literally be running autonomous, robots around the cities. That's no exaggeration. 5G gives them the amount of data transfer that they need to be able to accomplish that. So if there's anything I'm concerned about with 5G, that's what it is. Taiwan buys Washington lobbyist for ally. Astronomers complain about SpaceX satellites. Trump organization accused of fraud. Germans need to know that Ukraine exists, says the ambassador. Sure, they probably know. Merkel offered UN jobs, says the media. I find that interesting. I kind of have a feeling she'll take it too. That might be even why she gave up being chancellor. I think she was chancellor. I don't know. Whatever she was. Ukrainian man fined for liking a picture. Germany cracks milestone of 100,000 plus daily COVID cases. Poland won't antagonize China to please the U.S., says the media. Ukraine gets British anti-tank missiles. Yeah, well, FedEx might get laser anti-missile systems. I hope not. Blinken touches down in Ukraine for talks on containing Russia. Over 250 million of counterfeit HIV treatments sold. French minister urged to resign over Ibiza trip. I don't know if I said that name right or not. Tesla investors demand billions from Elon Musk. Well, hell, I'm going to jump in there too. Hey, I'm not an investor, but yo, dude. Investigation reveals why Ryanair flight was grounded in Belarus. Scientists develop an electronic skin. That China is doing that. That is actually some pretty interesting and could be concerning technology there. UK inflation hits 30-year high. Highest ever rise in political crime registered in EU state. 5G rollout in U.S. downscaled over flight safety concerns. Let's see. Blinken warns Americans about possible Russian invasion. COVID-19 pandemic declared nowhere near over. Conservative MP defects, says Bojo incapable of leading. U.S. warns Olympic athletes not to speak out in China, says a report. UK lords vote to make misogyny a hate crime. That's crazy. I know some people might think, oh, why would you say that? Here's the thing. If you think that they're actually just going to use this on valid situations, valid cases, you're sorely mistaken. This will be used so widespread. Again, take a look at what's happening to men in the family court system. That is why you need to be concerned about stuff like this. UK's Johnson scraps Plan B COVID measures amid Omicron spread. Jewish candidate likens Florida governor to Hitler. Russia continues U.S. debt dump-a-thon. Even mild cases of COVID-19 affect memory and attention, says a study. Well, you know what? The common cold affects memory and attention, has said many studies. I mean, come on. Haven't you had a cold or, don't even have to be the flu, just even a cold, and you just kind of, You're kind of hazy. You're kind of, yeah. UK PM told to go in the name of God. Orange juice prices go bananas. I kind of like pineapple orange banana juice. That's like my favorite. Study cast doubt on effectiveness of COVID testing at schools. Genes may explain 2 key COVID symptoms, says a study. Oh, yeah? Well, what about, like, cheap jeans? Because I've got, like, Wranglers on. I think they're Wranglers. I can't afford the Levi's. I wished I could. I like Levi's. Australia invites international backpackers to help ease workforce shortage. Global super rich says, tax us now. Yeah, I trust that about like I do a wet fart. New generation is capable of leading a new intifada, I guess it's intifada. Intimada and intifada. I know, it's stupid. Fishermen hit jackpot thanks to foreign spy drones, says report. Ukrainian court rejects request to jail Poroshenko. Russia's top spy makes sensational claim about U.S. plans for Beijing Olympics. Diplomacy, not weapons, needed to resolve Ukraine conflict, Russia tells the U.S. Neo-Nazi mass murderer branded no less dangerous after years in jail. UK aims to bring crypto ads to heel. Erdogan invites Putin and Zelensky for showdown in Turkey. Let's just have a cage match, right? That'd be cool. Put it on pay-per-view. Use Ukraine. I don't watch any of that stuff, but it sounds funny. Use Ukrainian for sex, lovers urged. So, like, literally, they want them to start speaking Ukrainian while making love. Interesting. Israeli government reacts to claims police snooped on its own citizens. Kazakh ex-president resurfaces in bid to quell coup fears. Prince Andrew deletes social media accounts. Court rules on 2-decade legal battle over loud flushing toilet. Russian space station module may be cut off, says NASA. U.S. warns Russia could deploy nukes to Belarus. Poll reveals how many Americans think country is on the wrong track. Hell, are we even on a track? McDonald's worker shot by customer following an argument in North County. That's in St. Louis. That was kind of local here. Not really local to us, but across the river. Is an all-out Russia-Ukraine war about to break out? I don't know. It was a good article. That's why I shared it. The CIA's high-stakes game in Ukraine. That was another good article that I shared out. Haircut protest staged in museums. This was classic. This happened in the Dutch did this, and they. So here's the thing. All non-essential type of stuff like museums and theaters and stuff like that, they were mandated to be closed down. But like hairdressers, hairdressers, personal trainers, stuff like that, they could do business, right? Gyms and stuff like that, they could do business. So what they did is, as you see in the image there, hairdressers had went to a concert hall, and so they're sitting there cutting hair and doing hairdos while the orchestra is behind them playing. I think it's genius. I think it's awesome. My hat's off to them. Russian troop movement into Belarus shows Moscow could launch attack on Ukraine at any point, says the State Department. Ukrainian government leader blasts Western media. Florida official placed on leave over backing vaccines at work. Moldova declares new state of emergency over gas crisis. Supreme Court justices deny false story on supposed mask infighting. I'll get it right somehow, maybe. Brzezinski becomes U.S. ambassador to Poland. I bet you're thrilled about that. Human trafficking gang leader is jailed. This is in Belgium. Ukraine planning false flag Donbass incident, says the militia. I guess a Russian militia. Let's see. Bill Gates warns of worse pandemics in the future. Macron. Oh, she's snoring. I thought I just got grumbled at. Let's see. Macron calls for frank EU dialogue with Russia on security. Biden must give Putin bloody nose if Russia invades Ukraine, says U.S. senators. Instagram introduces new feature for exclusive content. Declassified video shows U.S. drone strike on civilians. Biden threatens Putin with sanctions he's never seen before. Ooh. Jefferson County lawyer, I'll try that again. Jefferson County, this is in Missouri, lowers age requirement for 911 dispatchers as industry faces, I think it's shortages is the whole headline. EU state flip-flops on mandatory vaccination. And that's it. That is the headlines. Woohoo! We made it. Okay, well, on that note, I am going to get the heck out of here and relax for the rest of the evening. And when I say relax, that means I'll probably be going to bed pretty soon. I wait long enough. I know I'd forgotten the past few nights, but I wait long enough so that I can trim the intro out of the show. And usually as soon as I get that intro trimmed out of the show, I shut the computer down and we're in bed. Because why? Because we're just rowdy partiers that just all night long. No, I'm pretty lame. I'm ready for bed. Anyway, I hope you all have a good evening. God willing, we'll be back tomorrow. We'll do it again. As always, I hope to see you then, by the way. As always, God bless you. We love you. Be one with your spirit. And shalom.